It is another peaceful day in Alexis, North Carolina. And today is February 19th, 2022, and I thought it'd be a nice, lovely day as the vultures fly overhead. Wow, you can't cue this stuff better. As the vultures fly overhead, I thought it would be an excellent time to record a video showing off all of my trains, since I do actually have something to show off now, besides just a hand car. And of course, most old piece of equipment on this whole setup is the hand car. This hand car was built in 2005, and that's about all that I really know about it. It eventually, I don't know if it was built by or for these people in California that I bought it from, but they put it for sale on both a website called Discover Live Steam, which has a lot of train-related stuff on it to buy, and eBay. And I was able to buy it at a reduced price because apparently nobody else really cared to buy it at the time. So ended up buying this cart in 2018, and it got delivered on New Year's Day 2019. And it's all metal, so I hope to start working on fixing it up soon the way that I want it to be, because it already works very nice. But when they delivered it, they had to take the brakes off of it. The brakes would have gone right there, but right now the brakes are not on it. They took the brakes off because they had to take the wheels off when they shipped it, and it's been like that for the years since it got delivered. Then the next oldest piece of equipment on this little railroad of mine is not a piece of rail equipment. It is a lawnmower wagon, which I have just within the past week turned into a piece of rail equipment. This passenger coach right here was built by my dad, who's off in the distance, in 2011. The fall of 2011, we started working on a lawnmower train. And in the many years since then, the tires, which are scattered around the railroad tracks still, even though that's a different set of tires, all got dry rotted and all got just where they weren't working well anymore. So rather than turn it into a lawnmower train again, I said, I'm going to take this wagon, which is 2 feet wide, and make it a 2-foot gauge rail cart, because I always wanted a 2-foot gauge rail cart. So everything from the steps down is what I've done, and everything from the steps up is what my dad did. And of course, this thing has not been stained, which is very stupid of us. It's very stupid of me. I couldn't decide what color I wanted to paint it, so I never painted it. Now I want to stain it. So one of these days we'll get it stained. And of course, one of the many additions to this is these lovely, authentic train couplers that are 2.5 inches equals 1 foot scale. And they have spring, what's it called? Not buffers. I forget. Cushion couplers, which is very special. Now, to show how the age of this car, it was my original intention when I designed this thing that my foot would fit perfectly in the step, wearing the shoes that I was wearing then. And now my feet are about 4 inches longer than they were then. So, also, it was when I designed it, it was, as you can tell, this thing is very top heavy. And it originally was on these narrow sets of wheels that are right here. So it had a tendency to tip over when pulled behind the lawnmower. But now that it's on rail wheels, it has not tipped over once. We did get a set of wider wheels, which are over there, and it didn't tip over nearly as much. We also shortened it. You would not believe it, but this was originally 6 feet tall from the floor. Now it's significantly shorter. Now it's about 6 feet tall from the rails to here. Then the next oldest piece of equipment was built just a month or two after that, and it's this gondola car if you want to be fancy. But it, same 6 foot length as the other, and never got stained except for the floor. And it had even worse off tires than the other, and it was the first one for me to put rail wheels under it, even though we put rail wheels under both of these carts on the same day. And it's got the same 8-inch caster wheels with grease bearings on. It has a sliding door, which is sitting right there, which I took out so that I could more easily stand and take a ride on it. And inside of this thing, I have kept a few railroad crossing signs, which I've pulled out of dumpsters. Then the prized possession, what will probably make me more money than anything, is this cart right here. This was the first piece of 2-foot gauge rail equipment that I built for here. Now, all 3 of these carts that I have here, that are 2-foot gauge, are the same crate. Wow, look at that. The winds have turned my train into a sailboat. Anyway, these crates, these are all the bottom halves of some steel crates that dog kennels were shipped in. And I cut this one shorter. You can see my very poor welding over there. But all 3 of these are the same crates, except for that one's a little shorter, with the same axle, same wheel, same everything. This one I made with the intent to turn into a place to hold my Thomas tent that I bought at Goodwill a couple of years ago. And hopefully I will not need to spend thousands of dollars to build a 2-foot gauge Thomas replica that is very accurate, because I have this, which, while not being as accurate, is a lot cheaper. Even though it still costs about $800, because that's, if you want to know how much all this costs, basically, it was $100 per wheel, but the wheels have gone up within the last couple months, and now it's $125 a wheel. It's $125 a wheel, and it used to be $100 plus shipping for 1 set of couplers. That's just 2 couplers. Now it is $120 with shipping to get 2 couplers. So, combined with all the washers and the bolts and the screws and the axles themselves are just bar stock from Tractor Supply, $40 each. And all the drill bits that have to be used to drill all those holes probably adds up to $800 a cart, and that's just the chassis, basically. And other rail equipment that is not quite finished around here is this standard gauge rail cart, which was the first rail thing that I actually built myself. This is a pallet, metal pallet, that lawn stakes, like fence stakes, would be delivered on. And I was able to get it as a gift, sort of. And I was able to get a lot more of them. Got quite a few of them set around. Some people think they're so special riding around on their motorcycles. Well, they don't have a hand car, they don't have a Thomas tank engine, they don't have their own lawnmower train on 2-foot gauge rail wheels. They don't even have their standard gauge rail cart. But this is a standard gauge rail cart. And the wheels, as you can see, are not particularly sound. The axle only goes about 1.5 feet under there. So it is my intention to, within the next couple weeks, depending on the weather, to go to a place in Charlotte and buy 6-foot long pieces of bar stock to make an axle that goes all the way through. That way it isn't so flimsy and likely to derail. This cart is so far the only thing that people have rode on my railroad. That hand car, there's been a few people who've come by here and rode on the hand car, but this is the only thing that passengers have rode on. Because if you're on the hand car, you're working. This, you can just sit back and relax. They only took a train ride from there to there, but it counted. And then this was going to be the first 2-foot gauge piece of rail equipment. It is our largest lawnmower train wagon. It's over 3 feet wide. And the problem with it was I put these wheels on it and didn't realize that the flange was so small that it would not stay on our pipe. If we had actual train track around here, it would stay on probably, but because it's pipe and it's so round, it keeps wanting to climb over it, even on a straightaway. So, that was a lot of work that really didn't go anywhere. So, at some point, I'm going to take these off and put 2 4-wheel trucks underneath it. And I intend on having those trucks have brakes on it, because right now nothing out of all of this has brakes on it. I'm hoping to get that done eventually. Now that the train track is at a point where it holds up, it holds the stuff up, I'm hoping to get started on a hand car in a few days or weeks. I've been saying that for 2 months. And the last thing that's not very important, underneath all this tarp is a lawnmower train or a lawnmower locomotive. Oh, I think I might be trying to dig it from the wrong end. Let's go crawling under some stuff. Oh, crap. See, the issue is it's so windy right now. I'm trying to make an effort to not uncover everything with tarps because it's very hard to get covered back up again. Trust me, there's a lawnmower train under there. It's a piece of junk. We tried getting it fixed a few months ago, but ended up the fixing did more harm than good, and it probably wasn't well off to begin with, so it's basically retired. I did make a really crappy attempt at a series a few years ago about trying to fix it up, which ends in failure, of course, and the idea of that was that I would, was just to see if I could try making a bunch of longer videos and keep up with it. I was like, okay, done this. I don't want to do this again, especially if I'm going to end in failure. So right now I'm preparing to do hopefully another series better than that, of course, except for about the hand car. But I've been putting it off because it's very tedious and boring, more boring than this video has been, working on doing all this digging and track work and stuff. Even though I think track work is very fascinating, but the issue is basically seeing it for a little bit, you know, it's like this section and this section were not that different from each other. So it's like this right here. This track has been here since October. October 31st was when I was screwing all this down. And I don't know if I'm going to make any more videos while I'm out here, but wanted to make a video showing off everything while I had it all dressed up and ready to go on this very, very windy day here in Alexis, North Carolina. I'm not going to do any run-bys, I think, but the winds of change blow through. A divine wind that's been tearing up a lot of crap lately. Another peaceful day in Alexis, North Carolina.